In the bustling city of San Francisco, a loving, determined, and ambitious mother, known for her vibrant personality and unwavering dedication to her family, goes for a night out. As the hours pass, her family and friends become increasingly anxious when their calls go unanswered. What could have happened to this spirited, loving go-getter whose absence leaves an undeniable void? What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Murderous Greed.
November 3rd, 2006. It's Friday morning in San Francisco, California, an iconic city which has reinvented itself time and time again.
San Francisco is a microcosm of every type of culture you can ever imagine. Everybody is accepted, and you can live your life however you choose to live it.
There's a lot of action going on in San Francisco. We have major shows there, dining, restaurants, a lot of entertainment is there in the city.
So much so that when 22-year-old Siobhan Boone doesn't return to pick up her son at the end of a night out, her babysitter isn't immediately concerned.
Miss Boone had an engagement, and her neighbor was watching her son.
Carla, Siobhan's neighbor, just thought maybe she'd drank too much this time, or her phone died.
Leave me a message and I'll get back to you. All right, bye.
What's up, Siobhan? I'm trying to see if you're all right. Call me when you get this message. Bye.
All right, let's go get ready for bed, okay?
But as the hours pass, worry begins to creep in.
It was out of character for Miss Boone to leave her son with her for that amount of time. So she became concerned.
All right, bye.
Siobhan, I hope you're all right. You know I got your son or whatever, and you haven't called me or nothing, and I'm really worried about you now. Please call me. Bye.
And by the third day, with still no word from Siobhan, Carla's worry turns to panic.
When she hadn't heard back from her the next morning, she knew this was very serious.
Hello?
I get a call one day from Carla.
Hey, is this Shara?
Yeah, this is Carla. I'm actually Siobhan's neighbor, and I babysit her son from time to time.
Yeah, she gave me your number in case of emergencies.
I say, what's going on? What's up?
It may be nothing. I'm just starting to get a little worried, honestly.
As she explains the situation, Shara stands in stunned silence.
Carla told her that the last time she spoke to Siobhan was close to 3 days ago.
3 days?
I'm like, where'd she go?
While she may have been small in stature, Siobhan Boone had a personality that could fill a room.
She was loving, funny, smart, very energetic.
If you was having a bad day, she was someone to be around.
The youngest of 6, Siobhan learned early on that she had to speak up to make sure her voice was heard.
She gonna say what she want to say, how she want to say it.
Along with her big personality was an even bigger heart.
If she loved you, she would do anything for you. We called her money. She would give you her last dollar.
If we was out of hand or we was arguing amongst ourselves, she was that peacemaker.
But nothing brought the Boone family together quite like music.
The entire family is really musically inclined.
We just took a hold of music. Everybody could sing, play an instrument.
And Siobhan was no exception.
She was a hell of a singer. The first time I actually heard her sing, you could hear it, you knew she had it.
She really just loved music. She spoke to us through music.
But at 17, Siobhan's priorities shifted.
During her senior year of high school, she found out she was pregnant.
she was like, sis, I don't want to tell Dad. He's going to be so disappointed.
But her family stood by her.
We can check on the baby.
Okay.
She knew at the end of the day we had her.
However, that wasn't the case with the baby's father.
He wanted no part in raising the child.
I'm just like, you know what? At this point, you're doing great. So just move on.
Despite her circumstances, Siobhan wanted to create the best life she could for her and her son.
I believe she came to that conclusion that she would be on double duty, so to speak, in regards to parenting her son.
She got a job. She was working at Goodwill. She actually got her own place.
And I was just elated, like so happy for her that, you know, she was moving out on her own and just really doing her grown-up thing with her son.
Still, Siobhan was longing for something more. And after a few years on her own, she was ready for love again.
She was dating, but she was private about it.
Hi, you.
She would tell me certain things. She would never say a name. She would just always say, like, my dude or something.
What?
The truth was, she didn't want to bring just any guy home.
Well, of course, I want to see you.
If the person that she was dating was important, we would know him.
But now, they may never get the chance.
Hello?
That morning, Siobhan's sister, Shara, got a call from Siobhan's neighbor saying she's watching her son and hadn't been able to get a hold of her in over 2 days.
Why am I only hearing about this now? I wasn't sure what to do. I really thought she would call.
The quicker that you report somebody missing, the better.
To Shara, Carla's behavior is suspicious.
One thing that stood out is the amount of time that went by before someone reported her missing.
It was a little bit long for her not to alert anybody.
I'm going to the police.
What could she be hiding?
Get ready to dive headfirst into a storm of lies and deception. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Ambitious 22-year-old Siobhan Boone was successfully creating a great life for herself and her young son.
I knew she would be a great mom.
She had a job she loved. She was renting a house. She was really doing well.
Hello?
Until 3 days ago, when according to her neighbor Carla, Siobhan dropped off her son for the evening, but hasn't been heard from since.
Her sister can't comprehend why Carla would have waited to report Siobhan missing.
I'm going to the police. Okay, I'll meet you there.
It does make you wonder.
Shara heads to the San Francisco Police Department, picking up their brother Darius on the way.
Hey there, how can I help you?
It's her sister. She's missing.
When they tell the officer that Siobhan had already been missing a few days, he immediately starts the report.
Darius and Shara gave them all the information they could, including a photo of their sister.
Has Siobhan ever done anything like this before?
No.
It was out of character for Miss Boone to leave her son for that amount of time.
Did she have problems with anyone that you know of? Maybe the father of the child?
No, not anyone like that.
Siobhan's family at that point did express some concerns about her neighbor, Carla.
She just told her Siobhan was missing this morning. Like, who does that?
If Miss Boone was late to pick up her son, that person should be making some phone calls.
But Siobhan's family isn't sure why Carla would want to harm their sister.
As far as I knew, she took care of her son, but I never met Carla.
None of this was making sense. Why would Carla hurt Siobhan? Did she owe her money? Was this about a guy? They just didn't know.
As the officer is wrapping up the report, Carla arrives with Siobhan's son.
An officer took Carla straight to an interview room so a detective could find out her side of the story.
When the detective sat down with her, she insisted that she had no idea as to where Siobhan would be, and she seemed genuinely worried.
So just to be clear, you two didn't have any issues, is that right?
No, me and her were friends.
When she needed somebody to look after her son, she always count on the neighbor.
Well, then why did you wait so long to call Siobhan's family?
I was just looking out for her. There's just some things in her family she didn't want them to find out.
Carla explains Siobhan wasn't making enough money at Goodwill.
In San Francisco, the cost of living is very, very high. Folks may find themselves working 2, 3, maybe even 4 jobs in the area, trying to make ends meet.
It's expensive out here. She did the best she could.
But it wasn't enough to keep food on the table, which meant she had to make a difficult choice.
Siobhan was escorting for extra cash.
Miss Boone made that decision so she could take care of her child. She was doing it as a necessity to help pay her bills.
Carla tells the detective that Siobhan had kept what she was doing a secret from her family.
And I think she was ashamed. And she just didn't want anybody to know.
It would not be uncommon for a sex worker to shield her family from what she's doing.
If what Carla is saying is true, it could pose serious problems for the investigation.
Being a sex worker anywhere is a dangerous line of work. That sex worker is in a very vulnerable position.
Escorts could be in contact with multiple men at any given time, which could make for a long list of suspects.
Further complicating matters, Carla claims not to know who Siobhan was seeing on the night she disappeared.
Did you happen to get the guy's name?
No. But I do know where they went, though.
She was able to tell them which restaurant Siobhan said she was going to that night.
A natural step would be to make contact with that establishment to see if they remember seeing her at the business.
Officers pay a visit to the restaurant, but no one seems to remember Siobhan.
Restaurants in downtown San Francisco could have hundreds of customers a night, so it wasn't surprising that they didn't remember her.
However, the officer is able to retrieve surveillance footage from outside the restaurant on the night in question.
You see the missing person, Miss Boone, and another person.
She was with a black male, maybe in his late 20s or early 30s.
Unfortunately, they have no easy way to track the man down.
When they followed up at the restaurant, they learned the man Siobhan was with paid in cash, so there was no record of who he was.
So the detective checks with Siobhan's family.
The police take a snapshot of that video.
He emailed a copy of the still to Siobhan's siblings, but they didn't recognize him either.
With no leads on the man's identity, the detective shifts his focus back to Siobhan.
He started calling hospitals and nearby jails to see if anyone had a record of Siobhan being there, but no one did.
Every dead end is frustrating. But the next step, which is crucial, is writing search warrants for telephone records and her social media to see who she's been dealing with.
There's a lot of red tape to cut through to get to someone's personal records, and that takes time.
And the detective's time may be up.
A woman called 911 saying she came across a trash bin with what appeared to be human remains inside.
It looks like there's a Bible in there.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
After 22-year-old single mom Siobhan Boone disappeared, her neighbor revealed to investigators that she was living a double life.
Siobhan was escorted for extra cash, which opened a world of possible suspects. Unfortunately, it put her case at a standstill until they can receive her personal records.
But in nearby Oakland, California, police dispatch has just received an urgent call.
Oakland 911 received the call reporting what looked to be a body inside a trash can.
What happened?
There appears to be a body down in this thing, this open gray container thing. It looks like there's a body in there.
She didn't see the whole body, so she couldn't give a description of the victim.
What I saw was a leg.
But you think I can show us where this is at all?
Oh, yeah, I'll stand out here till they come.
Officers arrive within minutes and quickly locate the remains.
They found a bloody body that was wrapped in a moving blanket.
It was clear there was nothing they could do for the victim. Rigor mortis had already set in, and the body had been there for a couple of days.
111 to dispatch. Can you go ahead and start major crimes?
This was obviously a homicide, so the first thing they're going to look for is anything to ID the victim, but there was no wallet or ID near the body.
There was really no evidence around the scene at all, no signs of a struggle. It was clear that the victim was killed elsewhere.
As officers conclude their search, the medical examiner arrives to transport the body for autopsy.
They left the victim inside of the trash bin while it was moved in order to preserve any possible evidence.
It's not unusual for a victim of a homicide to be transported to a sanitary location in the container that they were found in. Disturbing that would just degrade the evidence.
The case is then handed over to Oakland homicide detectives.
The ME had gotten the victim prepared for autopsy, so detectives could see that the body belonged to an African-American female, roughly in her early 20s.
They started by running her description through missing persons, and they found an open case nearby in San Francisco.
When they pull up the report, they were able to confirm that the body was that of 22-year-old Siobhan Boone.
Judging by Siobhan's body, whoever killed her had acted ruthlessly.
Could you tell us a little bit more about her?
She was severely beaten, but her cause of death was actually a gunshot wound to her neck.
The stippling pattern on her skin showed that she had been shot at close range, and the coroner was able to determine that the bullet severed her spinal cord.
The coroner also uncovers evidence that could give detectives their first lead.
Were you able to pull any DNA? Actually, we got 2 results.
The ME found seminal fluid from 2 different men on Siobhan's body, so they could be looking for more than one killer.
While the coroner finishes Siobhan's autopsy, detectives begin their investigation.
The Oakland Police Department, it made contact with the San Francisco Police Department, and the San Francisco Police Department gave Oakland PD all the information that they had.
They then face the difficult task of notifying Siobhan's family.
He said they found her dead in a recycling bin in Oakland. The gut-wrenching devastation, to hear that, it was too much.
Thinking on how it happened, the fight that she had to put up broke my heart. That crushed me. Worst day of my life.
Siobhan's family has no idea who could have done this.
Detectives mentioned Siobhan's side hustle as an escort to see if she was having any problems with anybody. But the family is shocked. They had no idea.
Shara tells them that Siobhan's close friend Jana may know more about her personal life and gives them her contact information.
When detectives reach out to Jana, she readily comes in for an interview.
I want to thank you for coming in. I'm sorry for your loss.
And she may have the information to give them their first lead.
There's this one guy, her ex-boyfriend, Josh Bishop.
Jana tells them that Siobhan thought that he was a perfect gentleman at first. He picked her up at her house and opened doors for her when they went out.
But after a few dates, something changed.
What are you doing? Siobhan, she saw him going through her phone.
He saw all the messages with other men and put 2 and 2 together and realized she was an escort.
He was furious. He threatened her.
He wanted to make her pay.
Tireless detectives come together to untangle the web of betrayal. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
22-year-old Siobhan Boone has gone from a missing person to a murder victim after her body was located in a garbage can in Oakland, California.
Her autopsy showed that she had been brutally attacked, possibly by 2 men, and shot in the neck.
They had no regard for Miss Boone's life. They put her in a garbage can and threw her out as though she was the lowest form of life.
Now Siobhan's friend Jana has revealed that she was having issues with a man she'd recently started dating named Josh Bishop.
He found out that she was escorted on the side, and he was not happy about that.
Do you know if they ever saw each other again after that night?
I don't think so.
Detectives pulled Josh's information to see if he could be the man with Siobhan at the restaurant the night she was killed.
Maybe they had gone out that night to reconcile and reconnect.
But they immediately find a problem.
As soon as they see his photo, they realize that this is not the man in that restaurant footage. That man is black, Josh is white.
Of course, that doesn't rule him out as Siobhan's killer.
It was possible that she had gone to dinner with one guy, then met with Josh later in the evening.
When detectives ask Josh to come in for questioning, he agrees.
Did you hear about Siobhan?
Yeah, I saw it on the news. It's terrible.
Josh had heard about Siobhan's murder, but he denied having any special knowledge about the crime.
He says he hasn't talked to Siobhan in a few days.
However, his demeanor strikes detectives as suspicious.
He seemed detached. If he had feelings for Siobhan a few weeks earlier, he certainly didn't show it now.
What was your relationship like?
You know, casual.
But when they ask about the night he found out Siobhan was an escort, Josh admits that he'd gotten angry.
Well, how would you feel about it? That's the kind of thing you're supposed to tell someone.
He said yes, he was mad. Yes, they had words, but he didn't threaten her.
When she said she was done with me, I was on the same page.
So you're saying you had nothing to do with her murder?
Of course.
And he says he can prove it.
He said after work, the night Siobhan was killed, that he went to San Jose to meet with friends. They went to a few clubs, and then he spent the night on their couches.
When detectives look into Josh's story, it appears to check out.
They spoke to Josh's friends and confirmed he had been with them all night.
They were also able to contact his bank and get statements showing that his credit card had been used in nightclubs in San Jose.
Which means detectives are back at square one.
For a detective, it's such a disheartening moment.
You think that you have a natural investigative lead, and it is so difficult to get that next lead.
But this time, they won't have to wait long.
The detective in San Francisco finally got access to Siobhan's accounts and was able to send everything over.
A lot of times, a person who recently appears in a phone record is somebody you want to talk to in the investigation.
According to her phone records, Siobhan had been in communication with numerous men leading up to her murder.
But on the night she died, Siobhan had only been in contact with one individual, a man named Frank Irwine.
Law enforcement identified Frank as a possible suspect.
When they pull his criminal record, his mugshot comes up. and they can see that Frank Irwine was the person with Siobhan in the restaurant footage.
It also reveals that Frank has had his fair share of run-ins with the law.
Frank was somebody with a robbery past.
It wasn't just petty thefts. There was at least one robbery when Frank was armed and it got violent.
With a new prime suspect, detectives review Siobhan's bank records and find insight into a possible motive.
After Siobhan left the restaurant, there was an unusually large withdrawal from her bank account.
This was really a good lead. All ATMs have surveillance, so they retrieved the footage.
Video really doesn't lie.
But as the tape rolls, detectives are speechless.
They see Siobhan standing at the ATM.
There are two men with her, but neither of them is Frank.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
When Oakland detectives discovered that Siobhan Boone was with an ex-con named Frank Irwine on the night she was killed, they were sure they'd found their man.
Once they've identified Frank as a possible suspect, naturally you go into his past and see if he was convicted of similar crimes, type robbery. It wouldn't be unusual to think that that may have started this incident out.
But now, detectives have uncovered surveillance footage of Siobhan being robbed by two unknown men.
Could they be Frank's accomplices, or were they some guys that Siobhan met up with later that night, and Frank had nothing to do with this?
Determined to get answers, detectives bring Frank in. But in the interview room, he denies ever even meeting Siobhan.
You ever seen that girl? No.
He could be lying for whatever reason.
When he's confronted with the evidence, Frank doubles down.
Detectives lay out the phone records that show him and Siobhan communicating on the night of the murder.
Her phone number and your phone were calling each other. Is that right? Yeah, and that's why I'm asking you if you remember her. No?
However, detectives still have one more bombshell to drop.
When Frank came in for questioning, they were able to perform a rapid DNA test, and it was a match to the DNA found on Siobhan's body.
We have your biological evidence associated with this little girl.
What do you mean, biological evidence? You found my DNA on her body?
Your semen.
Wow.
Despite the overwhelming evidence, Frank denies having any involvement.
I didn't do nothing wrong. I have nothing to hide. Your evidence is showing that I just had sex with her. That's it. I wish I could remember. You know what I'm saying? But I can't.
He's totally stonewalling them.
So detectives try a new tactic.
Oakland PD asked investigators from the district attorney's office to come in and basically say, this is your last chance.
If there's anything you need to say and complain, it's time to do it now, because this is the time. There ain't no other time for you to address the DA. This is it.
Money. Money.
Money what?
That was her nickname.
Suddenly, Frank said the woman in the photo's name is Money, which is the nickname Siobhan's family gave to her.
Frank explains that he and Money had met at a bookstore in downtown Oakland on the same day Siobhan went missing.
I used to go in there, and she approached me, and then she told me her name was Money.
He said they flirted a little bit, exchanged phone numbers, and then a few hours later, they met back up to have sex.
Afterwards, he claims he and Siobhan went their separate ways.
I never heard from her after that again.
At this point, Frank has plausible deniability. He could be telling the truth, so police have to let him walk.
But detectives think Frank is still lying.
After that interview, they start going through his phone records, and they see two names coming up again and again that night, Kristen Daly and Terrence Anderson.
They pulled their files, and boom, there were the two suspects seen in the ATM footage.
After filing an emergency subpoena for Terrence and Christian's phones, detectives uncover even more evidence against the trio.
They looked at their location data and saw that Frank, Christian, and Terrence were all at the ATM at the same time as Siobhan.
When detectives bring their new suspects in for questioning, Terrence Anderson refuses to talk.
They got nowhere. He immediately asked for a lawyer.
Christian Daly, however, agrees to speak with detectives.
Unlike Frank, when they show him a picture of Siobhan, he says he recognizes her.
Where did you meet her at?
Downtown.
Did you meet her alone or was she with some other people?
She was with two other guys.
Christian says he was sitting at the bus stop. When they came around, they all started talking and hanging out, which contradicts the story that Frank told them.
Christian identifies the men Siobhan was with as Terrence Anderson and Frank Irwine.
I see her with these guys, and they obviously have some type of control over her. I know how they get out. You know what I mean? She looks scared.
Then Christian says they headed off toward an ATM, and he followed.
What ATM did you guys go to?
Wells Fargo. Right there on the corner.
Okay, right there by the city center, right?
Christian identified the same ATM where detectives found surveillance video of Siobhan.
However, Christian insists that if there was a robbery going on, he wasn't involved.
He claimed if something nefarious was going on, he had no part in it. He claimed he only tagged along because he was worried about Siobhan.
He says after she got her money out of the ATM, Siobhan assured him that she was okay.
He says Siobhan left with Terrence and Frank.
All right, so when they left, you hung out some more, you said, right? Down on 14th of Broadway or something? Okay.
He said he tried calling her later that night, but the call didn't go through, so he figured she put the number in wrong.
I really felt bad for her, so I wanted to call and make sure she made it home safe.
Is Christian really the good Samaritan he's making himself out to be?
Detectives started thinking they weren't getting the whole story, and when they started pushing back, Christian started to slip up.
Had you ever seen that girl before in your life?
Never really.
How'd you get her phone number?
How did I get her number?
Yeah.
Okay, when I say never, I might have met her a couple days before that.
Well, I'm confused. When did you get her phone number?
I don't know.
They started poking little holes in what he was telling them.
And to detectives, it seems his story is about to fall apart.
Your cell phone says the account name, and it says Chris Pimpney, and then it has your name.
It's caller ID. Strictly for caller ID.
So you had Chris Pimpney for your caller ID?
Hold on. What line of questioning is this?
They know she was an escort. Could he be Siobhan's pimp?
I'm not on the hot seat right now. I'm trying to help you guys.
Get ready to dive headfirst into a storm of lies and deception. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Detectives investigating the murder of Siobhan Boone have finally zeroed in on 3 suspects: Frank Irwine, Christian Daly, and Terrence Anderson.
Their phone's location data put them all at the ATM the night Siobhan was murdered.
And after interviewing Frank and Christian, detectives believe that both men are lying to them.
Their stories about what went down that night were starting to contradict each other, and neither of them were taking responsibility for the crime.
Armed with evidence from his phone data, detectives have just confronted Christian Daly with the possibility that he may have been Siobhan's pimp.
So you had Chris Pimpney for your caller ID?
I want certain things to appear on my caller ID. It doesn't mean that I live that way.
What is that about, the Chris Pimpney?
It's just a name.
He denied having anything to do with that kind of lifestyle.
They're hitting a wall, but detectives know they still have one unknown DNA sample from Siobhan's body.
You did not have any sexual intercourse with that girl that night?
No.
Are you willing to submit to a DNA test right now?
Yes, right now.
Detectives also obtain a warrant for Terrence Anderson's DNA, and both are sent to the lab for testing.
The remaining semen sample from Siobhan's body was not a match to Christian Daly.
Terrence, however, is a match.
They can now definitively link Frank and Terrence to Siobhan, but does that mean they killed her?
It was within the realm of possibility that both men had consensual sex with Siobhan that night.
Detectives knew they needed proof beyond reasonable doubt because they couldn't tie either of the men to the scene where Siobhan's body was found.
Frank Irwine and Terrence Anderson's phones were off for several hours after they left the ATM. And Christian Daly's phone placed him in downtown Oakland, just like he said.
Then, detectives catch a break.
They reached out to the garbage company about the bin that Siobhan was found in, and the serial number came back as missing from the same apartment complex that Terrence Anderson lived in.
And even though they're not sure which man pulled the trigger, the district attorney decides to move forward with murder charges.
They have DNA evidence, they have surveillance footage, and they have phone records. It was more than enough for arrest warrants.
The only outlier is Christian Daly.
Not only was his DNA not found on Siobhan, his phone placed him across town at the time of her murder.
But under California's felony murder rule, since detectives can prove that Christian was at least present, if not took part in robbing Siobhan, legally it would make him culpable in her death.
The DA backs them up, and all three men were arrested and charged with Siobhan's murder.
In September 2013, Frank Irwine and Christian Daly are the first to stand trial.
Since Frank and Terrence's defenses were essentially blaming each other, they had to be tried separately.
During their opening statement, prosecutors suggest that after he met Siobhan for their date, Frank Irwine identified her as an easy target.
He came up with a plan to rob her and recruited Terrence Anderson to help him to do it.
On the night of the murder, they believe Frank invited Siobhan out after dinner, under the guise of hiring her as an escort.
After he and Terrence had sex with her, they took her to an ATM. And along the way, Christian decided to join them.
Man, hurry up. Come on.
And when they realized Siobhan could identify them, they decided to cover their tracks.
We can't have this happen, so we got to kill her.
They believed that was too much for Christian, and he bailed.
But Frank and Terrence were intent on following through with their plan.
The men took Siobhan down to Terrence's apartment complex, where they beat her within an inch of her life.
Finally, one of the men delivered the fatal blow.
They shot her.
The bullet passed through her neck and severed her spine.
Only Frank Irwine and Terrence Anderson will ever know who pulled the trigger. Neither one of them have ever fessed up.
Once she was dead, Siobhan's killers treated her like she was trash to be thrown away.
To get left like that and found like that. Like, damn, they just took her out like garbage?
To hear the whole thing, it's gut-wrenching.
The jury is just as disgusted.
They found Frank Irwine and Christian Daly guilty of felony murder, and both men were sentenced to life in prison.
As soon as they read that verdict, Terrence knew he was going down for this too, so he ended up taking a plea deal and got 25 years to life.
But their punishments fall short of providing the relief Siobhan's loved ones long for.
you still have life. She doesn't.
I feel that they got lucky. They on borrowed time. That's how I really feel. Like the air they breathing is not their air.
I just wish she was here, mainly for her son. He still struggles with not having his mom, but we do the best we can.
She most definitely will live on through me and everybody else.
In a world filled with promises, a young mother created a loving life for herself and her child. However, one fateful evening shattered her idyllic existence, leading to tragedy. As darkness lifted, hidden dangers revealed themselves, altering Siobhan Boone's life forever. Siobhan's radiant spirit has left an indelible mark on the hearts of those she cherished, and she will forever be remembered, loved, and deeply missed by all who had the privilege of knowing her. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a college student with her whole future mapped out.
She's taking honors classes. She was a smart girl.
Era su meta esa de ser abogada.
She wanted to go far in her career and far in her life.
Only she would never get the chance.
They found her body in an open grave.
She had been strangled to death.
There was a knock at the door, and it was a homicide detective.
A 19-year-old college sophomore from Omaha, Nebraska, known for her diligent work ethic and aspirations of becoming a lawyer, has mysteriously disappeared. Detectives are actively trying to uncover the complexities surrounding her absence. Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.